Okay, guys. Hey, it's sunny. Today is the 15th, 16th of February, and it's 11:15 a.m. And it's kind of funny to have that kind of skip day right there because of several different factors. And I want you to take a look at this time lapse real quick. It's going back to 84. That's a cranium, guys. Point blank. You're going to see the eye sockets. You're going to see the whole head, everything. That anatomical correctness is something that we use to characterize with. It's very clear. From the way that I do public key cryptography, there's several contexts. However, this is going to be your first death in Cornwall. I can assure you that you can take it that way. I actually released a recording that I did with another member of the Holocaust Memorial Council that was close to some people that I knew, and I know that they know one another, and it's interesting. I've read pretty much all of his books. I haven't read The Death in Cornwall because it came out one day before the interview that Lily and this guy, his last name is James. I forget his first name. I think that's right. But anyway, I took issue with it because of the looking glass, the whole timeline shifting thing. This is something that I've worked on extensively in the field with the research, the paperwork. I don't know anybody else who's done more related to it than I have, and I don't want to sound pretentious because I value everybody's work, but the last person that I got into it with about this was Bill Brockbrader, and I saw a lot of people share his work. The bottom line is, though, he was a convicted pedophile out of Idaho federal case, and they tried to chalk it up to, oh, they're just trying to make this guy look like this because he's talking about this issue. That wasn't the case. I know his wife told me what happened, and that's another story, but he did evidently really, have sex with that kid, and so I think she was like 12 or 13 years old, and he was in his 30s or something. So that's pretty bad. I couldn't even imagine doing that. So, and people like Carrie Cassidy and these other people picked him up, and so I'm real cautious about how I choose to deal with people like this. And if I feel like people are involved in that or trying to cover something like that up, I'm gonna try to figure out why that is. So a lot of people have compartmentalization triggers. Look at this skull. Look at him. His hands are crossed. Look at him. Perfect. Okay. This is the base where her guest says that he was. They probably had no idea about this. So hopefully this will help bring in. Maybe they do. Maybe they know all about it and they don't want to talk about it. Or maybe they can't talk about it. There's a couple of different potentials here. Maybe they have it in the back of their mind, but it hasn't come to the front of their mind. This is a fucking giant. Okay? Excuse my language. But there's no question about this. And so having worked at underground facilities, counter underground facilities for a number of years openly, with just oodles and oodles of freaking footage, there's no denying it. Stuff flying over my head, I'm telling you where to go repeatedly. You guys are asleep if you don't see this. The bottom line is, it's a bona fide fact that the integration of bases and other things into these pre-existing remains is just the standard. This is how we've always done it. It's ancient. And so this has been going on. And this guy, he's really not that big. I mean, he's like a kid. Not even. I mean, some of these guys are so much bigger. And so that's interesting, though. And it's a good find. And it's a good specimen that's very well preserved. And it's got that anatomical correctness, and it's hardened. But it's a form of genetic expression that seems to be there for the cyclical cataclysmic events that we have, not for them to make it through, but for smaller and subsequent species to make it through, so that genome is preserved. Isn't that wild? That's where my research leads to, anyway. And so I think that's a fascinating thing. And then the moon aspect of his testimony is central to some of the things that I just discussed, so I'll throw it in there. I did work counter underground facilities, amongst other things, counter sabotage and some other stuff up in the Denton area where FEMA Region 6 headquarters is, which was actually an underground facility founded by Dwight Eisenhower in 1958, initially to house federal employees during the event of a nuclear attack in the Cold War. In fact, it was the first of its type, and it's integrated into a whole series of, it's an aquifer system, it's a cavern system, and it's very extensive. It gets very long, so it's a fascinating thing. And you can just see that, can't you guys? Look at that. No big deal. I mean, this is trying to tell you guys this for hey, this is a really clear case, and so maybe it's really there to help serve. And he's not the only one. There's more here, but let's focus on the base right there. I mean, you can get some other stuff going on down here, okay? But I want you to focus on this one because it's a really good specimen. And it's got that, it's easy to see, isn't it, guys? Let me put that back up there for you. Bink. That's the cranium, okay? See that? And so I was trying to keep this brief. I got a million things going through my head. But as part of that operation, I was just thinking about Rachel today. And I don't want to put her name out there, but it's my duty to put it out there, and I've already done it. And if somebody wanted to fuck with her because of this, I mean, we've got her back on it. Even though I don't necessarily trust her all the way because she's got these alters. So it's hard to do that. I've worked through the stuff that I've been through with it. A lot of us have this problem, and it's certainly not something that we should point fingers about or judge. Like, I got into it with Penny Bradley about some stuff. I was locked up in that facility during this time, and she's crying, like saying, every single conversation I ever had with her was preserved, and she chose to play some type of a victim role with me where, she censored the material that I fucking put out there, all of this kind of stuff, and whatever it was. And interestingly, she had some of the same connections back to the mafia and some of the other stuff that Lily's guest is talking about in his interview. And so, my position on Penny was, bless her heart, she's for real. She was definitely involved in secret projects. And so she's been through a lot. I can't really judge her for this, but it's unfortunate. It did allow me to continue what I was doing as a form of operational security. And so, fuck it, that was fine. That's something that I can take that was good out of it. It still pisses you off when you see other people doing all of this stuff and you're like, really going through it. Like nobody, I had some people come take my back. Yeah, it was a very successful operation, but the people that I see you wearing your t-shirt and you're like, oh, save the children, all this kind of stuff, whatever that sound of whatever the fuck it is, movie or whatever, and acting like you're really doing something, but you're not doing shit except for falling for this bullshit. And so that's my perspective on a lot of that stuff, and it really, really, really pisses me off after all the dedication and hard work that I put into it. And so I needed to say that. And I feel it's really disrespectful to not get the, it's not recognition that I'm looking for, it's cooperation. It's a big difference between the two. And so maybe my life path, God is preparing me for whatever I need to do in that area. Maybe I was too egotistical, maybe I was too much of an asshole, whatever it was. Maybe it was operational security, maybe it was all above. I don't really want to conjecture on that stuff because that's all I'm doing right there. But I'm certainly not here, am I? Okay, this is the substance of the matter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get it up there. I'll put some filters on it. Let's go ahead and take the time lapse off and take a look at it. You see that? I knew right away. It didn't become that structure was much clearer during the time lapse, and that's a nice little trick that you can use. This is, again, not an isolated incident, but there's a lot more to say about this. But what's under there, what's going on? This is an underground facility. So I don't know if that's part of his testimony, but I can tell you for sure that it is. Guaranteed. And they'll integrate right into, but the eyes always build over them. The mouth, it's the same thing. Depending on where the ears are, orifices have to be used or covered. And so that's the way that it is. I've seen all types of shit going on with these remains, and so it's a real thing. And I hope you guys get something from that. I hope it's meaningful for you. I would like some confirmation on this because, again, it's disrespectful. You're not serving your audience properly. You're not telling the truth if you don't. And so you're doing a disservice to yourself, to me, but most importantly to your audience who, deserves to know this. And for what purposes would you not tell the truth? Who's in control of that and what's going on are all things that you need to self-examine and consider, just like I do or anybody else, day-to-day basis. If you think that you're immune to something like that, look at this fucking huge secret that didn't come out of your mouth that your audience should have known, and ask yourself, guys, what the fuck? How did Sonny know this? I didn't know this, and he's been trying to tell me this for like fucking 2 years now. Okay? So I'm trying to help you. I'm not mad at you. And if we don't work together on this stuff, we are basically fucked. And so all that stuff that you guys are out there preaching and pointing fingers at me like I'm a fucking asshole, no, dude. You're being counterproductive. If I fed into that in my own ways by, whatever it is. But since day one, I've been trying to say, hey, come on, let me help you. And it's not a trick. It's fucking, I'm not the type. So my work speaks for itself. It's bona fide. If you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. Okay? Have a great day.